Can I carry that box for you?
No, that's my job today. I'm actually unloading a bunch of supplies for the Motus tower that's going to be here on top of the picnic shelter here at the Kansas Wetlands Education Center.
What's a Motus tower?
That's a good question. Actually, Motus is the Motus Wildlife Tracking Tower System. And this one's going to be the second of two here at Cheyenne Bottoms. We have a large tower at the Nature Conservancy's property, and this is going to be a little bit smaller one, a little less standing up in the air.
And what does it do?
Specifically, it's designed to track any flying creature that has these little small nano tags on it. So it could go on things as small as a dragonfly or even butterflies. For me here, this is part of the Kansas Shorebird Radio Telemetry Project. So I'm most interested in shorebirds. Now I know I have colleagues up in Canada, down in South America, and even across the United States that are putting nano tags on shorebirds. We don't have hardly any of these towers here in the Great Plains, so there's so many unanswered questions. For me, as a researcher, the main thing I'm looking at is shorebird length of stay. Length of stay means when they arrive, how long they stay to rest and feed, and then when they leave. This is really important information to determine actually true populations of birds as you do your surveys. Because if you do a survey like every 10 days and these birds are actually turning over every 5 days, then you're only getting about half the birds. With this only being the first set of towers here in Kansas and up north, data from the Great Plains is greatly missing for shorebirds.
My name is Matt Webb. I'm an avian ecologist with Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. I coordinate the western expansion of the Motus wildlife tracking system. Part of my funding for my project, or for my position at Bird Conservancy, comes from Birds Canada. Birds Canada are the organization that head up all of Motus across the whole world, really. With Bird Conservancy of the Rockies, we have a large-scale project going on trying to develop the Motus network throughout the Great Plains and Chihuahuan Desert. And we're doing that to study the full annual cycle of grassland birds. We're particularly interested in grassland birds. Grassland birds have been experiencing some of the steepest declines of any of the avian guilds. Some of the populations of some of the species have declined by almost 90% since the 1960s. So Motus is a nice tool that we can use to study the movement of birds, and we can use it to study movement on large and small scales. So we can follow birds as they move across a region as large as the Great Plains and Chihuahuan Desert, which is pretty much all the grasslands right in the heartland of the United States, Canada, and down into Mexico. So we can follow the birds across that whole region as they move, as long as we have lots of stations like this in place throughout that region. We can also follow them on a smaller scale, such as, within this landscape here at Cheyenne Bottoms, see how birds use this area. When they arrive, we'll be able to detect that with this station when a tagged bird arrives. And then also when they leave, and that kind of information is extremely important for population dynamics and helps us understand how grassland birds use this area. The way that Motus works is we put little radio transmitter tags on individual birds, and those birds, some of them will wear that tag for the lifetime of the bird. Others will drop that tag after a year or two once the tag has stopped working. And there are several manufacturers of these radio tags, and the different manufacturers, their tags transmit at different frequencies. So on this station here, we have 8 different antennas at the top of it. There are four cardinal directions that they're aiming in, and one set of antennas will listen at one frequency and the other set listens at the other frequency. So people can use both of the kinds of transmitter tags. And this station will pick up anybody else's tags as well, tagged birds that fly through. So the range of this station, any tagged bird that's moving through this area within about a 15-mile radius from the station will be detected. And as that bird moves through and it's detected by the station records that detection, and it records the GPS information along with where that detection took place. And as the bird's moving, there's a potential for it to be detected by several of the antennas, so we can get kind of an idea of which way the bird was moving at the time that it moved through here. And it collects also a timestamp so that we get, the exact time and day that the bird passed by. So this station is pretty tall. I wanted it to be above this barn. And the taller that we have the antennas, the longer the range will be. We don't have to deal with the topography or any vegetation that might be in the way. The way that radio works is by line of sight, and so vegetation and topography can interact or interfere with that radio signal. The metal barn here will also interfere with that signal, so we wanted to get it, a good way above the metal barn itself. This station will be the main station here at Cheyenne Bottoms. Later today we'll be installing another one on a picnic shelter at the Environmental or Educational Center, and that one will be a much smaller station with 2 antennas per frequency. There'll be smaller antennas, and they'll just sort of point out over the marsh itself. But we'll also be able to detect birds that use this area. So these 2 stations together will fill in Cheyenne Bottoms quite well.
So in addition to providing very important data about shorebird use at Cheyenne Bottoms and grassland bird use as they pass through the Great Plains, my hope is that we can help researchers from all over the continent with their projects. But most importantly, we are part of one of the world's largest conservation and research initiatives in the world. To me, this is pretty darn exciting and extremely important.